I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake and I'm 32. I was engaged to Emily for about 9 months. Things seemed perfect at first. Funny, smart, beautiful, a little bitchy sometimes, but I figured that was just her personality. We, known each other since college, always kind of in and out of each other's lives, but once we got serious, I thought I'd finally found someone I could count on. Now looking back, I see all the signs I ignored or brushed off. She was unpredictable with her mood swings, would cancel plans last minute, and there were always little things, like phone calls when she thought I wasn't paying attention or quick, nervous texts she'd hide when I came near. I just thought she was busy with work or stressed, or maybe she just didn't want me to worry. But deep down, I had a feeling something was wrong. I kept telling myself I was overthinking, that she loved me. Something changed about 2 months before the wedding. I started noticing little inconsistencies. Her phone was always locked. She'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts, and she'd suddenly be too tired for intimacy. We'd have sex maybe once a week, if that. When I pressed her about it, she'd roll her eyes and say I was insecure, that she loved me and was just stressed. But I saw the way she'd glance at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking, and sometimes she'd get this weird, guilty look. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Still, I wanted to trust her. We were planning our wedding, after all. I kept telling myself she was just busy and stressed, that maybe I was overreacting. But then one night everything changed. I came home early from work, something I rarely did, because I just had this gut feeling that something was off. I remember walking into our apartment and hearing a noise coming from the bedroom. The door was slightly open and I saw her. Emily, my supposed fiancée, in bed with my best friend Ryan. It was like my world stopped. They didn't notice me right away. I saw her naked, tangled up with him, her legs wrapped around his waist, eyes closed like she was in some kind of euphoric trance. Ryan was on top of her, moving in a way that told me everything I needed to know. They weren't just cuddling or fooling around, they were having sex. I could see it all clearly through the crack in the door. I stood there frozen, just staring, trying to process what I was seeing. In that moment my mind went blank. My first instinct was pure rage, but that was quickly replaced by this deep, bone-crushing sadness. I felt betrayed, humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. I kept staring, trying to understand how someone I loved and trusted could do this to me, especially with my best friend. How long had this been going on? Was I just some fool who was supposed to be happy with a lie? I didn't make a sound. I just backed out of the room quietly and left, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon. I went outside and leaned against my car, trying to breathe. My mind kept racing, flipping through all the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, the times I was too blind to see what was really happening. How did I not see it? How did I not know? I felt like I had been punched in the stomach, like someone had taken a hatchet and split me in half. The worst part was that I didn't even know what I was feeling: anger, heartbreak, disbelief. It was all of it at once, crashing into me like a tidal wave. I finally went back inside and saw Emily in the living room, pretending everything was fine. She looked annoyed, like I was interrupting her Netflix binge or something. When I confronted her, she acted like I was crazy. She kept lying, spinning stories about how I was paranoid, how Ryan was just a friend, how I was overreacting and jealous. She said I must have misinterpreted something, that I was imagining things. She called me insecure, said I was suffocating her, but I could tell she was lying. Her eyes darted around, her voice was too quick, too defensive. I didn't say much that night. I just stood there staring at her, feeling like I was drowning. I knew then that trust, that thing I thought we had, was gone, completely shattered, and that was just the beginning of what would turn into a storm I couldn't control. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My head was a mess of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. I kept replaying that moment in the bedroom over and over, trying to understand how I missed all the signs. How could she lie so easily? How could Ryan betray me like that? They'd both been part of my life. Ryan, my best friend since college, always the guy I trusted the most. And Emily, she was supposed to be my future, the love of my life. Now I didn't know if I could look at her the same way again. I decided I needed to confront her again, face her down. I couldn't just let her brush it off or deny it. I wanted the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The next day I went home during lunch break, trying to find some clarity. I found her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like everything was normal. I didn't even bother to ask. She saw the look on my face and started to get defensive. "You have no right to accuse me," she snapped, her tone sharp and bitchy. "You're overreacting. I was just talking to Ryan about work. You're so paranoid, Jake." Her words stung, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I told her I saw them, that I knew what was happening. Her eyes widened for a second, then she rolled her eyes and scoffed. "God, you're so dramatic. You think I'd cheat on you just before our wedding? Seriously. You're reading too much into stuff," she said, flipping her hair. But her voice was trembling slightly, and I knew she was lying. She was an expert at lying, that much was clear. She kept insisting that she and Ryan weren't doing anything, that it was just a stupid mistake, a one-time slip-up. She said she was stressed, overwhelmed, and that Ryan meant nothing to her, that I was just being insecure. I didn't buy it. I knew better. I could see her trying to manipulate the situation, trying to make me doubt what I saw. I felt my fists clench, my heart pounding hard. I told her she couldn't just lie her way out of this, that I'd had enough of her bullshit. I told her I needed some space, that I was done trusting her until she came clean with the truth. She looked annoyed, furious even, and started yelling at me. "You're overreacting. I don't know what you want from me. Ryan's just a friend and I don't owe you anything. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? You're crazy if you think I'd cheat on you. Maybe you're the one with the problem, not me." Her words cut deep. I felt like I was losing my mind listening to her spin her lies, trying to turn it around on me. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her in bed with Ryan, saw her lying to my face. I felt betrayed, humiliated, disgusted. How could she be so callous? How could she do this to me? The love I had was turning into a bitter, toxic mixture of anger and sadness. I knew I had to make a choice, confront her again, figure out what to do next. I decided to go through her phone. I needed solid proof, something to hold on to remind myself that I wasn't crazy. I waited until she was asleep. She always stayed up late, binge-watching her shows or on social media. I quietly grabbed her phone from the bedside table, my hands trembling. I unlocked it, and what I saw made my stomach turn. There were dozens of messages between her and Ryan, flirty, suggestive, downright explicit. Texts about how much they wanted to be together, plans for secret meetups, pictures, naked selfies, talking about sex like they were wild animals. As her messages said, my heart sank. All the things she lied about, all the ways she had been hiding her true self from me. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak flooding through me. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid to trust her. I put the phone back carefully, my mind racing. I knew I had enough proof now, but I also knew this was just the beginning. The next step was to confront her again, but this time I was going to do it differently. I needed a plan. I couldn't keep going like this, living in a nightmare that I'd created myself by ignoring the red flags. I had to decide whether to fight for her or cut her out of my life for good. Either way, I was no longer the same man I was just a few days ago. Everything was falling apart and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to put it back together again. The aftermath of finding those messages hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so naive. All those late nights, all the excuses, the stress, the work trips, it was all a lie. She had been sneaking around behind my back for months, probably ever since we got engaged. The worst part was knowing she did it with Ryan, my best friend. That betrayal cut deeper than anything else. I felt like I'd lost not just my fiancé, but my brother-in-arms, the guy I trusted most in this world. I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling numb but determined. I knew I had to confront her again, face her lies head-on. I decided I wasn't going to let her manipulate me again. I was tired of being the fool. I needed the truth from her, all of it. I wanted her to admit everything, even if it destroyed whatever fragile thing we had left. So I waited until she was in the door. I grabbed her phone again just to be sure I had everything. I scrolled through the messages one last time, memorizing key parts, then put it back. I knew I'd have to do this face-to-face, in person. I didn't want to hide behind texts or screens anymore. I wanted her to look me in the eyes when she lied or when she finally told the truth. When she came out of the bathroom, I confronted her straight away. "Emily," I said, voice low but tight, "I know everything. The texts, the sex, the lies. Don't pretend you're innocent. I saw the messages. I know you've been cheating on me with Ryan. How long has this been going on?" Her eyes widened, and for a second she looked genuinely caught off guard. Then she sneered like I was just some inconvenience she had to deal with. "Oh, please," she snapped, crossing her arms. "You've got no proof, Jake. You've been paranoid from the start. You're making this all up in your head. Ryan's just a friend and you're overreacting because you're insecure. You always think the worst." I could feel my blood boiling. "Don't lie." I said, "I've got the messages. I know about the sex, the secret meetings, the everything. How can you sit there and deny it after all I've seen?" She rolled her eyes, scoffing. "You're crazy. You really think I'd do this right before our wedding? I'm not some cheating slut. You're just jealous because I don't kiss your ass all the time. Maybe if you were a better husband, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere." That was when I snapped. I told her she was full of shit, that I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. I told her I was done. Done with her lies, with her games, with her manipulations. I said I was leaving, that I needed space to think. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with her anymore. She looked furious, her bitchy mask slipping just for a second. "Fine," she spat. "Go then. Run away like you always do. But you're not going to find anyone better, Jake. You're just a fool who's going to get played again. Watch, you'll come crawling back." That was the moment I realized I had to leave for good. I packed a bag, not even bothering with words. I left her standing there, yelling after me about how I was overreacting, how I was the one with problems. I didn't care. I just wanted out. I drove away, feeling numb and hollow, like I'd just lost half of myself. I kept replaying everything in my head, her sneering, the sex, Ryan's face in those messages. It was like a sick, terrible movie I couldn't turn off. That night, I stayed with a buddy, trying to piece my thoughts together. I was angry at her, hurt beyond words, but mostly I was just devastated. How could someone I loved do this to me? How could Ryan, my best friend, stab me in the back like that? It felt like my world was crumbling, and I didn't even know if I could fix it or if I even wanted to. The question kept echoing in my mind. Could I ever trust her again? Or was this the kind of betrayal that would haunt me forever? I knew I needed to find some clarity, but right now, all I felt was this overwhelming sense of loss. The days that followed were some of the hardest of life. I spent most of my time just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what had happened. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily and Ryan together. Every time I looked at my phone, I hesitated, knowing there was probably some new lie waiting for me. The betrayal had cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I kept asking myself why I missed all the signs, why I let her get away with so much. Was I just blind? Was I too in love? Or maybe I ignored the red flags because I was afraid I wouldn't find someone better. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. No one deserves to be cheated on, especially not by someone they thought was their future wife and best friend. One night, I finally reached a breaking point. I couldn't just sit here feeling sorry for myself. I had to do something, anything, to make sense of this mess. I remembered I had some old recordings on my phone from a few months ago. I'd been recording some of our conversations for safety, just in case she tried to manipulate me again. I listened to one and it was like a punch in the gut. The way she talked about Ryan, the way she dismissed my concerns, the way she lied with such ease, it all came flooding back. That was when I realized I had to confront her again. Not for her sake, for mine. I needed closure, even if it meant ending everything for good. I decided I'd call her and ask her to meet. I needed her to face me, to see the damage she'd done. I didn't want to do this over text or in some passive way. I wanted her to hear it from me, what she had destroyed, what she'd lost, and how I felt. When she finally picked up the phone, her voice was still as bitchy as ever. "What do you want, Jake?" she asked, annoyed. I took a deep breath. "I want to see you. I need to talk, face to face. No more lies, no more hiding. I want to know everything, how long, why, what you thought you were doing. I deserve that much." There was a long silence on the line before she finally agreed. "Fine, but don't expect me to apologize because I won't. If you want the truth, you're going to get it. Just don't waste my time." We arranged to meet in a quiet cafe near her apartment. I knew I had to be calm, but inside I was anything but. My nerves were shot, my stomach in knots. When she arrived, she looked exactly the same. Bitchy smirk, defensive posture, eyes that refused to look me in the eye. I could see her trying to act like she was the victim, like I was the one overreacting. I didn't hold back. I told her everything I'd found, everything I'd seen, how I felt betrayed, humiliated, broken. I asked her why. How could she do this? To me, to Ryan, to everyone. Her response was classic Emily, full of lies, deflections, and outright denial. I never cheated on you, she insisted, voice dripping with disdain. You're just paranoid. Ryan's just a friend. You're crazy if you think I'd do something so stupid. You're jealous, insecure, and projecting your problems onto me. I don't owe you explanations for every little thing I do. I stared at her, feeling my blood boil. You think I'm stupid? I have the messages, Emily. I have proof. How can you lie to my face after everything? I saw you in bed with Ryan. I saw the sex. Don't even try to deny it. She scoffed, crossing her arms. That's a lie. You're making stuff up. You're just mad because I don't want to be controlled. I'm not some girl you can own, Jake. If you're going to act like a jealous idiot, this isn't going anywhere. I felt my fists clenched. You're nothing but a lying, manipulative bitch. I trusted you with my life, my future. And this is how you repay me, by screwing my best friend. Do you even care how much you hurt me? Her face twisted into a sneer. You're overreacting. I don't have to explain myself to you. You're not the only one who's been hurt here. Maybe I was just bored. Maybe I needed some excitement. Who knows? But I'm done with your accusations. If you're going to keep accusing me, I'll walk away right now. That was when I knew I couldn't do this anymore. I looked at her, exhausted and broken, and realized I'd been holding on to hope that she might change, that maybe she'd confess, but she hadn't. She was still lying, still playing her games. I stood up, told her to leave. I didn't want to hear any more of her bullshit. I told her to leave, to never come back. As she got up, she looked at me with pure contempt. You're making a huge mistake, Jake, she said coldly. You'll see. You'll regret letting me go. Then she walked away, leaving me sitting there, feeling more alone than ever. That night I stayed up all night, replaying the scene in my head. What did I do wrong? Was I just too blind? Or was she genuinely capable of this kind of betrayal? I didn't have the answers. I only knew one thing for sure: trust was gone, completely shattered, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to get it back. The days after that breakup were a blur of emotion. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, angry at her, devastated over losing what I thought was my future, and oddly relieved to finally have clarity, even if it was brutal. I kept replaying everything: her lies, the sex, Ryan's betrayal, and I couldn't understand how someone I loved so much could do this to me. It was like my heart had been ripped out and stomped on. Honestly, I didn't even recognize myself anymore. In those quiet, lonely moments, I began to question everything. Was I just naive? Did I miss all the signs? Or was I just too in love to see the truth? The hardest part was accepting that someone I trusted implicitly had been lying to my face for months. I kept thinking about all the memories, the plans, the promises. All of it turned into dust. It was a gut punch, and honestly, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. But as much as I hated her and Ryan, I knew I had to move forward. Staying stuck in that emotional pit wasn't doing me any good. So I started to focus on myself. I threw myself into working out, reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside, and trying to rebuild a sense of normalcy. I even started therapy, mainly because I needed someone to talk to about all this chaos inside my head. It helped to get some perspective, and it made me realize that trust, once broken that badly, isn't easily repaired. Maybe it never could be. One evening, I decided I needed closure, not just for myself, but also because I wanted to understand why she'd done this. I reached out to Ryan, my former best friend, to meet. I wanted answers. I was tired of living with unanswered questions, and I figured if I could get some honest truth from him, I might finally be able to move on. I wasn't expecting an apology. Hell, I wasn't even sure what I wanted from him. I just needed to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. We met in a quiet bar downtown. Ryan looked uncomfortable as hell when I sat across from him. I didn't waste time. I asked him directly, "How long has this been going on? Why did you do it? Did you ever really care about me, or was I just some fool you used? He looked down at his drink for a long moment, then sighed deeply. Look, Jake. I messed up. I don't have an excuse. Emily's a manipulative bitch, honestly. She's always been like that, charming on the outside but sneaky as hell. When we started talking, I didn't see it coming. It was stupid and I regret it. I honestly thought she was just screwing around a little, not serious, but that's on me. I care about her, yeah, but I also know I screwed up with you. I never wanted to hurt you, man. I was just stupid, caught up in the moment. Hearing that from him, it didn't bring relief exactly, but it did clarify some things. Ryan wasn't some evil mastermind. He was just a guy who'd gotten caught up in her game. But it didn't make me feel any better about what happened. I realized I'd been used, manipulated, played for a fool. My trust had been shattered and I didn't see a way back from that. Over the next few weeks, I focused on healing. I cut Emily out of my life completely. No calls, no texts, no social media stalking. I needed to rebuild my sense of self, to find out who I was without her. I also started dating again. Nothing serious yet, just some casual encounters. Because I needed to remind myself that I was still capable of being happy, of finding someone who'd treat me right. But the biggest lesson I learned was about trust. You can't take it for granted. When someone shows you who they really are, you have to believe them, even if it hurts. Emily's betrayal taught me that. I thought I knew her, but I was wrong. I was so blinded by love that I ignored all the warning signs until it was too late. Now, I'm trying to put the pieces back together, and honestly, I'm not sure if I'll ever fully trust again. But I do know one thing: I'll never let anyone treat me like that again. Never. So, if there's one piece of advice I could give to anyone out there, it's this: trust is fragile. Pay attention to the red flags, don't ignore the gut feelings, and don't be afraid to walk away if someone shows you their true colors. Because at the end of the day, your happiness and sanity are what matter most. Looking back now, I realize that the pain I went through was almost unbearable, but it also forced me to confront some harsh truths about love and trust. I used to think that love meant never giving up, that if someone truly loved you, they would never betray you. Turns out that's naive. Love isn't enough if the foundation isn't solid. If honesty and respect aren't there, everything crumbles in the end. What has surprised me most is how resilient I've become. I never thought I could survive something this brutal, but here I am, still standing. I've learned that sometimes the only way to heal is to face the truth head-on, no matter how ugly it is. I've come to accept that I was blindsided and hurt, but I also have a choice. I can let this destroy me, or I can use it as a lesson to become stronger, wiser, more cautious. I've realized that trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt, and maybe it shouldn't be, at least not right away. Right now, I'm taking my time, rebuilding my sense of self piece by piece. I don't know if Emily will ever regret what she did, but I know I won't wait around for her apology or her remorse. The only person I owe honesty and respect to now is myself. This whole experience has taught me that betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals what truly matters. I learned that I should never compromise my boundaries or ignore my instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. I learned to listen to myself, to trust my gut over someone's pretty words or false promises. And I've learned that I don't need anyone who treats me like an option or a fool. So, for anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, here's my final, honest advice. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't stay silent when your instincts scream at you. And if someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Because the pain of betrayal is real, but so is the strength you gain when you finally walk away and reclaim yourself. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm done chasing ghosts of the past. I'm ready to move on, to find real happiness, and to trust again, carefully, cautiously, and never at the expense of my own heart. That's the lesson I'll carry with me forever. And maybe, just maybe, someday I'll find someone worthy of my trust again. But for now, I'm just grateful to be free.